Jake, I am so excited to have you here today. I'm going to quickly introduce you because there's so many good stuff that we need to cover. You did 46 million in 2025 with 127 units. You have a team of 3, 1 processor, 1 team assistant, and 1 lead concierge. And you see yourself as having 2 jobs. Number 1, getting the client approved, 100% making sure the deal works. And number 2, saving the client the most money on that loan, which is a really interesting way of framing it because it's not always the lowest interest rate. I want to jump into it. Is that okay?
Let's do it.
All right, perfect. Real quick, how does life look like for someone that does 46 million? Like you're a baller. What does your life look like?
I don't know if I'm a baller. I got to hang out with a bunch of people that do like double the production that I do. But life is good. I'm lucky. I'm blessed without question. A lot of sacrifice, obviously, to get to this level or this point in my career. Still pretty early, I like to think, and a lot more to come. But no, life's good. And a lot of that has to do with just hiring really, really good people and having a really, really wonderful team.
That's good. I love you're already giving credit to your team. So what do you like to do for fun? I see the golf clubs in the background. I know you live in a really nice part of Wisconsin. So what do you do for fun?
Yeah, golf's kind of the number one. It's kind of both a little mental reprieve, but also a networking opportunity for me, and it's turned into that. So I picked up golf about 7 years ago and gotten pretty good at it by just kind of dedicating and practicing it quite a bit. It's the everlasting challenge, and I think that's what I really like about it. Ironically, mortgages is very similar, right? There's the everlasting challenge to it. There's many ways to navigate the golf course, just as there are in this industry, in this marketplace. So that is the biggest thing I do for fun. The other thing is obviously massive family guy. I love hanging out with my boys and my wife, traveling if and when we can, and doing as much activity as possible with them, including like sporting events, tubing in the snow, whatever it ends up being. It's always fun to hang out with them.
Do you guys travel internationally or domestic mainly?
Pretty much domestic. So we're a big Disney family. So we go to Disney, I think, about every year. That might bump up as my kids keep bugging me more and more because they are salespeople by themselves and the squeaky wheel gets the grease, if you will. So, Dad, when we go back to Disney is a common phrase in our household.
Oh, that's cute. That's a good place to be. Is it true? Is it the happiest place on earth?
Yeah, for the most part, when the kids aren't crabby or everything's going according to plan. I think it's the happiest place on earth. It's actually, in my opinion, it's the best customer service place on earth. And that's what really keeps me coming back for more. It's always incredibly clean. People are always incredibly nice. And because of that, a lot of what Disney does applies to, I think, our business and how I want to run my team. Bending over backwards for our clients and business partners to make sure everything gets done.
You obviously take inspiration from everything you do in your life to make your business better. Like you said, golf, like you do it for yourself, but it's also viewed as a challenge that you always get better, like your work. You mix it with growing your business. You go on vacation with your family. You're like, what can I learn to make my business better? How can I provide better client experience? Is that a mindset shift that like someone taught you to have, or is that something you've always had?
I think that's molded in time for sure. I think I always tell people like my business is my life and my life is my business. Sometimes that's mentally challenging, but at the same time, it is also like it's really cool because I found something that I can make my own, within my own personality, within my own activity, within my own creativity. So yeah, I think it has shifted. I originally, when I got into the industry, I think I thought like I was watching American Choppers. American Choppers is a family who builds custom motorcycles, right? It's a reality TV show when it really comes down to it. But those guys' life was their work and their work was their life. So I always kind of like looked at that and I said, how can I do that? Like that'd be fun, like to just be able to work and live and work. And in time, my job is kind of molded into that. And so everything I kind of do has some sort of thought of business intent. And then surrounding yourself with people that are like-minded has also helped immensely. So yeah, I think it's kind of just evolved over the course of my career and my life of maturity, I suppose, too.
Gotcha. American Chopper, I've actually heard good things about it. I was a big Duck Dynasty guy, and I actually pretty similar. It's like the family all were involved in the business. They took a lot of pride in it, making its quality. Obviously, yeah, it's a reality TV and has a lot of drama in it to make it entertaining, but that mindset is true. So let's jump into your business. I want to start with like high level. What does it look like? Like, where does your business come from? What makes you unique? And then we can go into details.
Yeah. So business typically comes from referral, either past client, centers of influence, which is typically like real estate agent, financial planner, um, divorce attorney. I don't really attack them too much. Not my forte. I don't like to dabble too much in that world. It's kind of sad in a lot of ways. So those are my main sources. Definitely a lot of business advocacy is built through friendships and relationships that I have. And that's been really powerful. Again, surrounding yourself with the like-minded people. I belong to a country club and I have a lot of friends through there. And a lot of them are business owners and or salespeople, and they think, the kind of a scarcity mindset mixed with, how to run and operate high level business aptitudes, if you will. And so I've been blessed to build a lot of friendships that will always vouch for me. It feels like, and I'm grateful for that. So as far as where our business comes from, that's about it. It's really people buying people, and then people trusting people over time, and trusting myself and my team over time.
I know your numbers. You have one of the best. No, you have a lot of realtors sending you a lot of business. It's like one of the best I've seen. Do you have the set process you're going to get that level of conversion with realtors, or is this like organic, natural? Like what does that process look like?
Yeah, good question. So I've always been a proponent of building strong, unbreakable relationships to some extent. Like obviously I've lost relationships because of multitudes of different things, maybe just a different vision than others, which is fine. But most of it is come from just finding my people. I think in my first year in the industry, which was 13 years ago, met with like 200 real estate agents, just to kind of get out there and shake hands, kiss babies type of stuff. And out of those like 200 people I met, I think I worked with like 10. I don't work with any of those 10 any longer. But those 10 led me to work with the people that I work with today. A lot of 6 degree of separation type, right? Like, hey, you should work with Tony. Tony is amazing. You guys are like-minded. You guys would hang out. You guys could golf together. And those are the people that I now pretty much work with. The rest really come down to just comfortability, trust, a true partnership. I don't want to be looked at as like a lender vendor, if you will. I want to be looked at as a partner. And I always think that my number one job for a real estate agent specifically is to protect their paycheck, right? When they send us a referral, my job is to make sure that loan closes and that we set the client up for success when they're especially writing offers. And there's many different ways to do that by having a good reputation in our industry, and that pre-approval is rock solid, to calling the listing agent to confirm with them that, hey, listen, if this client was buying my house, I would be thrilled. There's a lot of different things that I do and that really my team does that sets us apart to build strong and lasting relationships. So yeah, we do work with a lot of agents. I would love to work with more. I think the biggest and hardest thing in this industry is getting business and earning those trusts and opportunities. And the most valuable thing in this industry is your reputation, because I think your reputation precedes yourself in general. And if you have a strong reputation and a strong level of trust with people, you're going to get more and more opportunities, hopefully in the future.
You shared some true gold there, and I want people to go back and listen to that part if they're trying to grow their business through referral partners. But one thing that's really interesting for me is your job is to protect the realtor's paycheck, to protect the referral partner's paycheck. And you used the example of like deals, like putting good deals together, but also you talked about getting the client's offers accepted, and you have a process for that. Another thing I've talked a lot with my loan officers in my branch is protecting the realtor's paycheck by increasing their lead conversion. Is that something you focus on as well, and like make sure you convert leads at a higher level?
Absolutely. I mean, I track everything. So from activities to results, right? Like, and then from when I say results, I mean like opportunities converted into applications, right? Then you break it down even further and go applications to pre-approvals to accepted offers to closings, right? So if you can be predictable in your business by tracking your numbers, the better off you'll be, because you'll know what type of input you need in order to reach X goal. I try to tell that to as many like young producers as possible, because they have no idea. They just throw a goal out there and they have no idea how to achieve it. And the only way to achieve it is understand what your own capabilities are. So you have to track your own numbers. You could hear my numbers, but you'll never, I don't want to say you'll never hit my numbers, but you'll be different than my numbers, right? So our conversion ratio from application to closing is close to like 38%, which in my estimation, by talking to other high level producers, is pretty darn high. So when I talk to another young producer and they tell me their conversion rate was like 80%, with all due respect, I know you're kind of full of shit and you don't track your stuff. So understanding what you do and how you do it is really, really important. I'm not sure if that answered your question, but I think it definitely hits on a point of how knowing your numbers matters. But I guess your question was more along the lines of like, how do you build value to listing agents, or
Before we do that, actually, because the numbers is so important. What gets measured can actually get improved, gets accomplished. Now, you have 38% conversion, not from TRID, but from the moment like a client fills out the application link.
Right.
So essentially from credit pull to funding is 38%.
Correct. Yeah, that's exactly right. And that also takes into account like somebody does a credit pull, and then maybe they fall off, and then we have to credit pull them again. That number includes that. Numbers tend to work themselves out as long as you keep the variables the same. Like you'll be able to understand what it actually equates to. If we dip below a certain percentage, that's where I'm like, okay, we got to be better at X, Y, or Z. So where are we failing? And then I can redissect like kind of in our process why we're failing.
Do you track leads that don't turn into applications as well?
Yeah, that's actually like really, really low. All right. So you were going to say that. So like, oh, you have them fill out like an online app. We don't do online apps. Almost never. I think maybe one of every like 20 clients will actually do like an online app. We almost demand to do like an on-phone interview, if you will, which then turns into an application. And the major reason for that is from what you just said, like I'm separating myself, right? We're separating our team from a Rocket Mortgage or even our competition locally, right? Like we want to make sure that we give the person a high level customer service piece, which goes back to like the Disney thing. Like why I'm such a big fan of Disney is they always do everything with a high level of intent from a customer service perspective. So the reason we do that is because if you get an online application, you end up having to call the client and like clarifying some of the stuff that they filled out anyway.
Mm-hmm.
So we just kind of eliminate that portion. So for instance, like if you ask a client, well, actually, I should rephrase it. So clients usually ask us like, oh, what am I pre-approved up to? Well, that's kind of a silly question because most of the time people don't really care how much they're pre-approved up to, because they could be pre-approved for $1 million property, but they don't want $1 million monthly payment. So one of the questions we ask is, what is your preferred monthly budget? Well, that monthly budget will do two things. One, it'll allow us to just pre-approve them around that number, maybe a little higher, obviously, because people end up finding a house that ends up being a little bit more than that. So we don't have to put as much effort and work into essentially the full-on cash flow portion of pre-approval, because we're just going to pre-approve them for what they want. The other thing that it does is it allows us, when we do grab an application, if somebody says, hey, I want a $4,000 a month payment or less, but then as we gather all of the application information and documentation, we run into a roadblock and realize that $4,000 a month doesn't make any sense. Their debt to income ratio is 80%. So now we know there's something wrong, and we can then go back to them and say, this doesn't make sense. Can you clarify this? And then all of a sudden they'll be like, oh yeah, I've got a job from somewhere else. So if we would have just pre-approved them for half of what they want, they'd be upset, and they tell their agent, well, they only pre-approved me for XX, so I'm going to go to a different bank. So this eliminates that, right? And it's a part of the fallout portion. We just can't have fallout. You got to eliminate all variables. So you have to ask people up front the questions that gives you the blueprint to be successful for their specific financial situation.
I love that. You are the second person that's explained the value of phone applications to me in a way that I'm like, you know what? I can see it, and it's worth the extra time and effort. Now, for you, are you the person that's taking the phone application, or is someone on your team doing that?
Yeah, I used to be. I used to do it because I thought I was the best customer service person in the world and cared the most. And then about 6 years ago, I was golfing and I met a girl who was a bev cart girl, and her customer service was unbelievable. She knew everybody's drinks. She knew everybody's names. She gave the incredible proper etiquette, if you will, the entire way through. And a few weeks later, I was back at that golf course and I said, why are you bev carting? I understand you're really good at it. You probably make great tips, but I need you to come work for me. And a few months later, she did. And so today she is my, what I call client concierge girl. She is my right hand in my business. She is amazing when it comes to applications and client service, and cash flow is her forte. She does all of that in the upfront. She is amazing. And in a lot of ways, our business has evolved to her and I together, and she is leading the client interaction piece, and then my job is to essentially be the pilot flying the plane, and she is the stewardess who takes care of our client during the flight.
Very interesting. So who's taking care of the structuring the loan? Are you, or is she, or someone else?
Both. So for a long time, I was obviously doing all of that. She's learned quite a bit and a ton to also do that. Certainly when there are troubles or issues, I have to certainly step in and make sure that the client is being communicated with on a more high level intent, right? And that's where I'll come into play. But a big part of my journey is going to be communicating with air traffic control, I call it, which is like real estate agents, title companies, insurance agents, so on and so forth throughout the whole process to make sure everything goes as smooth as possible. And we land the plane, as I keep using this analogy.
I love the analogy. I used to say it as well. Like when I was talking to a client, I would say like, hey, we're on a plane, I'm the pilot, you're the client, kick back, relax, expect turbulence, but no, I got you, you're going to land fine. So I love that you're running with the pilot and airplane metaphor as well. So before we started talking, you kind of talked about the two values. Before we started the podcast, you talked about your two values, which is approve the client and save them the most money. But you also said, if it's okay if I bring it up here, that if you want nice things, you have to pay nice prices. So it's not like you have the lowest rate or like lowest price necessarily, but you are saving the client the most money. And your team is set up to really understand the client situation. So can you expand on that, how it works?
Yeah. So what's interesting in that I found is when people do a mortgage, like a consumer is always looking for what mom and dad have always taught us, and Dave Ramsey has always taught us, which is lowest rate, lowest cost, which I completely agree with. However, if you knew you were going to be in the mortgage for, or any loan really, for the term, or in this case, 30 years in most cases, you can be predictable with it by looking at essentially an APR. The problem is nobody's in a mortgage for 30 years. I think the average is 4.5 years. That's expanded a little bit, but ultimately, I don't think many people are going to be in a mortgage for more than 4.5. A lot of people listening to this will be like, oh, except for those people that got 2.5% interest rates in 2020 and 2021, which I don't disagree with you, but they're still going to want to move, right? And a lot of them are going to want to move because they bought during a low end price point and their equity is increasing. So they might have no choice. So you're still not going to be in it for 30 years for that reason. So it's a big math problem and math game over and over again that you got to do with people, while also understanding their goals and their specific life situation to help them understand that, hey, 30 years may not make the most amount of sense when shopping for a specific mortgage with your specific financial situation. This is why I like working with financial planners, because they understand the high level thinking when it comes to dollars and cents and interest or money over time. So we can create, I want to say creatively, a mortgage that makes the most amount of sense for people if we know what at least their mindset is. Because a lot of things change, right? There's variable change when it comes to how much they're making, how many kids they now have, or what kind of other debts they've pulled out. You know, I've reset people a handful of times, meaning like I've literally helped somebody a few years back buy a new home and essentially lowered their overall liabilities, right? So they sold one house. I took a lot of that equity, paid off some debts, and then helped them buy a new house with a higher interest rate and a higher price point, but lowered their overall liabilities. So I reset them, but got them into a bigger and better house. But then what do? They probably took out more debt again, and they reached out to me just recently and said, oh, we got to fix it again. You know, so like those are the things and variable change that happen consistently in life, especially with finances. And so our job is to be there alongside of them and look at this number one asset they own, which is typically also the number one liability they own, and treat it as such. And that's kind of goes back to the client concierge way that we like to do things. This is the biggest purchase of your life. And if people aren't treating it that way, that work with you along the way, that's a problem, in my opinion. I believe that you should be handheld from beginning to end throughout the largest purchase of your life. And so that's the way we approach it.
It's fantastic. So now the pieces of the puzzle are starting to make more sense to me. You are really, when you say, one, I want to make sure you get approved, and then two, I want to make sure you save the most amount of money, you're really saying, I want to understand your financial picture and your life goals. That way I can put you in a deal. And that's not necessarily just like a 30-year versus a 15-year. It just means also like, are you going to pay points? Are you not going to pay points? Like, how are we going to structure all of this? Are we going to pay off debt? So you're understanding the full situation. So they get a bespoke action plan, and you're building the trust in that phone conversation with your borrower. And that's why, like, if you get 30 leads, you're closing 10 loans.
Yeah, exactly.
Wow. And how are you? So we can go into detail if you want to, if you think we should go, but I'm also really curious to see how your referral partners, your financial advisors and realtors react to this, because this is not common value that loan officers provide.
Yeah, I don't know if they always know, either, right? I think we get accustomed and comfortable with it. I wish more people knew this is the level that we go to. It's also hard to like talk or brag about yourself to business partners. They hear it all the time and they don't want to listen. But this is, 13 years of trial and error that I've experienced, and talking with a lot of top producers in this country over and over again, because I'm just picking brain, right? Like I'm always curious of what people are doing to make them successful, so yeah, again, I don't probably say it enough or talk about it enough with our agents and business partners or referral partners, but hopefully, they see that value. And there's other intrinsical things that we do, like if it's sponsoring stuff or being there for their events to help be a manpower piece and so on and so forth. But how do you get that message out there without sounding like everybody else in what has deemed to be a commodity type business in a lot of ways? Like, you have to keep separating yourself. You keep doing the little things over time, the cream rises to the top, I'll say, and hopefully that will continue to happen with us moving forward. But as
Are
I was
you?
kind of alluding to, not to interrupt you, I apologize, Sam, but
Right.
the one thing that in years of doing this I've realized is, and talking to top producers and always listening to podcasts just as yourself, like, I've always tried to listen for the magic wand that a top producer does, right? I realized that, or I always thought that there's always this one thing that they do that will make you successful. And I've said this for a long time, that the hardest thing to do in this business is get business, right? To be referred in a lot of ways. I mean, maybe it's lead purchasing too. There's different ways to do it, of course. But the hardest thing to do in this business is get business. So what does the top producers in this world that I've listened to over time do to get business? And it's not one thing. It's a million little things. A million little things. The things that I just talked about are so minute, but can be so impactful. And if you do enough of them over time, like, hopefully you'll get more referral partners that recognize the added additional value that we provide. And the more that I do this, the longer that I do this, you have to press doing the little things over and over and over again. And it's the same thing again. I guess go back to Disney, right? Like, to do all the magical little things. Here's a really good example. You've heard the term hidden Mickey.
Mm-mm.
Okay,
No.
at Disney World, there are hidden Mickeys everywhere. The little logo of Mickey Mouse's face or head, right? It's the three circles, right? The head and then the two ears. All over Disney World, there are these little hidden Mickeys. It could be a paint splat on the ground. It's a hidden Mickey. Look at that. And so those are little things that Disney does to expand upon the magic, if you will. We have to do those little things too in our businesses in order to expand the referral base and get more opportunities over and over and over again. You got to do those little things.
Those I want your feedback on this, because I have two schools of thoughts. I think excellence in the basics is critical. And that's what, when you say like do a million little things, that's what it sounds like I'm doing right. It's excellence in the basics. And I can hear, like, from the way you even hire to the way you always think about your business, you really care about the basics and the experience being really good. On the other hand, I'm a big philosopher to Tim Ferriss, the 80, who like really just talks about 80-20. Like, 20% of your things will really bring in 80% of your results. And for me, like, client experience is a million little things. Business generation is an 80-20, and it's like little, like, it's doing a few things really well that will bring in the results. And an example of that is, like, I used to say call realtors all the time, like every week. And I shifted it for a few of my loan officers, saying, like, actually, you like give updates, but you don't have to ask for business anymore. Like, they don't even ask for business. Like, I'm like, maybe once every 6 months you can ask for business, but you do have to invite them to happy hours, and you do have to give them some sort of value regularly, and it can be email or text. So the time investment for my loan officers has gone down, but their lead generation actually has gone up, because like, it's not as many things, it's less. I'm curious, what do you think of that camp of philosophy?
Yeah. So I mean, this goes back to tracking your numbers in your activity and your predictable results due to activity. So, all right. So I used to be in the school of thought, same thing, call 20 real estate agents or referral partners, doesn't matter where it comes from, every day. And then that would result in X amount of referrals. That's shifted a little bit for me. One, because my relationships are a little bit deeper now and, than when you started. I also realized that your business partners turn into friends and good friendships. Do we call our friends? Absolutely not. I don't think I've called my best friend in years. What do? We text. constantly throughout the days, weeks, years, GIFs, emojis, funny jokes, whatever it ends up being, links to videos that we think are funny. So I think that's actually how you communicate with people in our industry now. Sure, invite to happy hours and things like that. I think that's fine too. That's part of the business practice. That's part of business expansion, probably more so than anything else. Hey, I'm going to invite you to this, invite your friends, like maybe meet some new people. But my proponent is more staying top of mind. The other way that I try to do that, and Sam, you might have saw some of this stuff, is I'm a social media guy. Like I like, doing the social media thing to stay top of mind, right? With my friends and family and business advocates and real estate agents, financial planners. At least that's my hope. And then maybe that social media content also allows expansion of referral partners who see stuff and they say, oh, I would like that guy. I should reach out to him. Oh, this guy works with them. Maybe I should, because that guy's successful. So those are the two pieces of my puzzle that I think have been really valuable to staying top of mind, because ultimately when a real estate agent has a buyer, to them that's gold. And I agree, right? That's your paycheck. That's our job then to protect it. So how do we do that? Well, first of all, we got to get referred the business. And the way you get referred is because you're on the top of mind of that agent when they have that client. So how do I stay top of mind? Well, hopefully I pop up in their feed, or hopefully I text them at the right time. And so doing those little things consistently, I think, equate results.
I love it. So you're saying like you're earning the trust of the potential referral partner, but you're staying on top of mind. And there are a lot of non-invasive way to stay top of mind. So if they open their Facebook and you're top of their feed, they're thinking about you. If they open their Instagram and there's a meme from you to them in their inbox, they're thinking about you. So there's a lot of like cool, creative ways to be in front of them without them being like, oh, why is Jake asking for business again?
Yeah. Yeah. Hopefully that's what's happening. I mean, it's a fine line, because we always see a lot of people on social media too that are, cringy, right? Like, oh, okay, takes a lot of selfies and talks a lot on the mic and makes, whatever. But, if people think of that of you, then they're probably not the people you want to work with anyway. And so be authentically yourself. And again, you'll find the people that are meant to align with you. This goes back to like, I met with so many real estate agents, and I just only found so many that I wanted to, / they wanted to work with me. And in time, you find your people. That's why getting into this industry, people always ask, like, what would you do if you restarted? I said, first of all, I never want to restart again, because it was like, took so much time, energy, and effort. It was just ridiculous. And I don't have that anymore as a 39-year-old. But I think that's it. Like, cast a wide net, and then hopefully you land a couple fish. And then from there, if you have faith in Jesus, that those fish turn into being able to feed 5,000, right? So there's a ton of analogy to all of this. I think that's part of my philosophy and understanding of life is looking for the positives and then always remaining positive. Although, we do have that pessimistic personality or pessimistic piece of human persona that comes out. And I've talked to people about this, like how many times do you look at your pipeline, you have like nothing going on, and you get a ton of anxiety from that. And instead of letting that anxiety turn into depression, I think the biggest thing that you have to do is talk to your anxiety and understand that your anxiety is there to serve you. It is telling you, hey, there's something wrong that's going on. Go do the things that you need to do in order to produce again. And so I think there's a lot of lessons to be learned within this industry. And it's a part of life. And I love what I do, and I do what I love.
This is a lifestyle business. The more you love doing it, the more you incorporate it into your life. Not only the more you're going to enjoy it, but also the more money you'll make and the happier your family will be. And it's setting a good example, I think, for kids. It's, kids need to know that like there is a reward for a good, satisfying career. It doesn't need to be just a job where you do it, you leave, you don't think about it, and you dread going to it. You can enjoy it and make it a part of your life.
I always say that. So like when I'm hiring people, the first thing I always talk to them about is, listen, this is a career, not a job. Like you have to treat it as such. And I think hiring the right people matters more than anything else. I've hired some of the wrong people. And I learned my lessons, got burnt, if you will. But ultimately, the one thing that's really cool about the team that I have today is they're, one, committed, and two, I've also hopefully have changed their lives. And I know that there's a guy in my office that hired me, committed to me, changed my life exponentially. I posted about it the other day, and I am forever indebted and grateful to him, and I hope to do the same. And so sometimes what I always like to, what I want to do, what I want to continue to do is um, talk to others, hopefully help them learn and expand and grow within my company, and then obviously with you too here, Sam, for instance. Um, and that's my debt to repay in a lot of ways. The other thing with hiring people, I think, just touching on this one more time, and I think this is important, and I think you know this, is the when you hire people, it's hard to find the right person over and over again, but understanding that the right people for you are out there is key. But moreover than that, I think it's the right people are the people that are better than you at those
Mm,
specific tasks that you're hiring them for. Megan's a good example. I talked about it. Like, she's way better at customer service than I am. I needed that, in my journey. And it's not to say that I wasn't good at it. It's just to say that she was better. But there are also things that she doesn't want to do, in her journey. But then I provide that for her.
mm.
Or Billy, our processor, provides that for us. The organization and attention to detail and the time tracking. Like, he's amazing at that. And it's something that I'm not very good at, but I hired somebody for that. And it expanded our business when we had the peace of mind that we had the right pieces in place to grow. And so those two have been with me for going on 6 years. And it's no secret that the last 6 years for me has been nothing but increase in purchase business. So
It's, for people that don't know, you have officially surpassed your 2020, 21, and 22 numbers, and you're now almost entirely purchased, which is amazing. So
yeah, let's get some of those refis back. It'd be fun
it's
to get some
coming.
bonus business, right?
It's coming. It's coming. I mean, we're recording, guys, in January 2026, and the rates are dropping. So our pipeline, we now have 117 active loans in our pipeline in our branch. So, and that's almost a 30% increase for us. So it's coming. But Jake, we're coming on time. What's next for you?
I I think I tried to hire junior LOs in the past underneath me to do some work. Again, hired probably the wrong people at that specific time for me and maybe for them. So I think the next step in our journey is to do that. I
Mm,
kind of realized, like, hey, if you want real, true, organic relationships with referral partners and friends and business advocates, you're you kind of are strapped to the time and available attention you have to individuals. And so maybe the next step is hiring people who don't know anything or don't know how to do mortgages, but I have a team structure that's set up for that. So maybe we hire people that can also build relationships and build trust
mm.
and get opportunities. So I think that's maybe our next step as a team. But whoever knows, this industry is interesting. It's ever evolving and changing. And the beauty of having a small structure like we have is that you can pivot fast. And I think that's kind of the future of this for us, is the everlasting challenge and ever changing atmosphere that we are in the mortgage industry.
That's I love it. That's a great place to end. Can loan officers reach out to you?
Yeah, absolutely. I'm always willing to share what I've experienced and learned. And the reason is because people who are above me for a long period of time shared with me. So I think this is a place in an industry that has a lot of cutthroat to it, right? Like, you run into loan officers that don't work for you within your market, and they're like, no, I'm going to beat that guy, and that guy's, he doesn't know what he's doing. There's a lot of that baloney in this industry, and I would love to change that a little bit. I was guilty of it too, but at the same time, I think we all are probably human beings and trying to provide for our families at the end of the day. So yeah, if anybody wants to reach out, I'd be more than happy to help. And if you're looking for a new home, I'd also be willing to explore bringing you on.
You heard it here first.
As you are too, I'm sure, Sam. I apologize. I don't want to step on you.
You heard it here first. Jake is looking for good talent. If you guys are the right fit, it will happen. Just reach out, see if it's the right fit. What's the best way for them to get in touch with you?
Yeah, honestly, find me on social medias. I'm big on there. Follow me, hit me up on a DM. I'd be more than happy to connect.
And social media, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, all.
Yeah, TikTok, LinkedIn, YouTube, Facebook,
Twitter.
Instagram, Twitter, all of it.
I love it. Thank you so much, Jake.
Thanks, Sam.